So, welcome everyone. We'll speak in English for this last masterclass since it's welcoming three joint master alumni. So I'll start with the Brazilian one. So Amin, he is now in Rio, right?
Exactly.
Working for AFP and France 24 mainly. Olivia Martin is in Brussels, right?
Yes.
Working for Politico Europe, and here with us Sofia, who is at Forbidden Stories. So they're joint master alumni, and they'll share about, so we have a small joint master group here, but it's for everyone. And yes, and they'll explain about their how they got their first jobs, etc. The mic is for you for your questions, so please don't hesitate to interrupt if needed. To you, Sofia.
Okay, so I just start a bit. Well, I'm Sofia Alvarez. As Marie said, I'm working at Forbidden Stories now, and I think I'm just supposed to tell you a bit what happened for me after graduation. That's it. So after we graduated, I was very lucky because two other students of our joint master promotion had gotten a grant to continue an investigation that we started during this master, during an investigation class, and they invited me to join them to expand their investigation on. Well, they were investigating about Italy at first, about the heat-related deaths in Italy, and they wanted to expand it to Spain. So they invited me to tag along, and so we were really lucky because we could investigate on the ground for like a month, more than a month, I think. And that was my first job experience after the master. During that, I sent my application for doing an internship at Forbidden Stories, because at the time, Laurent and Sandrine and the people who were leading Forbidden Stories were our teachers here. So I knew them a bit, and I was like, all right, gotta take your chances. And yeah, I've always been really interested in investigation. It was my first experience after the master. I was sure that was what I wanted to do. So I did an internship at Forbidden, and then I did a very short CDD to continue one of the projects, but there was no position available. So I panicked, as you can imagine, because at the time I was not speaking very, very fluent French. I'm Spanish, so I have an accent in every language that I speak in, including Spanish. And I was like, all right, absolute panic, I'm never gonna get a job, I wanna stay in Paris, what can I do? I can't find an apartment, oh my God. And then I was like, all right, well, listen, just take some time, try to pitch some stories, try to do a bit of freelancing on your side, it's gonna be all right. I pitched one story about my village in Spain. That is a village that has 600 inhabitants. It's very, very lost in the south. I thought nobody would have an interest on that, and it did. So I pitched for The Dial, for Madeline, who was also a teacher here. So again, this is just my way of telling you, please take advantage of all the contacts that you have here, because it does help. And after that, I spent a few months working on that story. And after that, Forbidden Stories called me again. So I was like, all right. And that's how I started working with them. And it's been, almost a year and a half now. So that worked out for me. But yeah, it was a bit messy at the beginning, but now so far it's working out. And yeah, I let the others go now.
Olivia, maybe?
Sure. So yeah, like Sophia said, there's a moment where you kind of panic after you graduate, and for me, I wasn't really sure. I'm American, if you couldn't tell by my accent. I do speak French though as well. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in Paris or if I should explore going back to the US, but I was kind of in this mindset where I was open to anything. And that meant even opportunities in Brussels. And so I just sort of was like applying to anything I thought I could kind of pitch myself for, so any types of jobs. And one of those jobs was doing social media for Politico in Brussels. And I think what actually landed me the job was the fact that I had previous social media experience from another internship that I did while I was at Sciences Po. So the summer before I was out in the job market, I started at an internship at this small nonprofit called Geneva Solutions, and it was a reporting internship, but then they ended up asking me to stay on to help out with their social media, and I think that's what really showed that I had this social media specific experience in a newsroom already and helped me get my current job at Politico. So I'll pass on to Amin.
Right, so I'm here to let you know, so you shouldn't despair, because I'm from the class that ended its master during the first weeks of COVID. So that was a bit hard. We were all stressing out, didn't know what we were gonna do. So basically I started applying for a lot of jobs, took the first one that was offered to me, which was social media at Europe News. Stayed there for about a year, but honestly it wasn't the job of my dreams, but I just needed some money, so just went straight to Europe News, and it was a great school. It was a great place to work at, very multicultural and all that. And I always wanted to work in Latin America, and I knew that AFP had its headquarters in Uruguay. I actually had applied for Euronews and AFP at the same time, but just AFP got back to me after I signed my contract with Euronews, so I just told them, hey, I just got a job, and it was actually a permanent contract. So yeah, I just stayed there about a year, and whenever I saw that AFP had put out another position at AFP, in Uruguay, sorry, I just applied for it again and got it. And 11 months after Euronews, I was taking a plane to Uruguay. Then I stayed a year and a half. It was also a permanent contract. So you'll see that I've done the opposite that most people do. I've taken on 2 permanent contracts, then 1 fixed term contract, and then now I'm freelancing. So it's my decision. It's not because the job market is shit. Excuse my French. But yeah, basically I just really wanted to work in Latin America. I worked there for a year and a half, editing mostly. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. I was in the right region, not exactly the job I wanted to do, but it was just great. Working for agencies are just amazing because you build such a big network of people, around a specific region. And then because I knew a bit of Portuguese, I got lucky basically. The Brazil bureau chief in video was sent to Ukraine, and so I replaced him for about 2 months in Rio. And then I absolutely fell in love with the city. I mean, I guess that Rio de Janeiro is a more fun city than Montevideo. And once again, I got lucky because France 24 was looking for a dinner journalist. So the AFP bureau chief actually put me in contact with Fanny, which was the France 24, France 2 correspondent at the time, and they were looking for someone to work for France 24 in Spanish. And so I just got a coffee with them, and a month after I quit my job at Euronews and signed for a year for France 24. And so it wasn't directly for France 24. It was a production company that worked for France 24. And then after a year and so, France 24 actually cut its budget for Brazil by 70%, just because all the money was sent to correspondents in Ukraine and in Israel and Palestine. So they didn't renew my contract, but that was actually fine because I was kind of looking into freelancing and I could continue freelancing for them. And the Rio freelancer left for Sao Paulo. So that actually just gave me a lot more contracts. And that's what I've been doing for about, I think, a year and a half now, or 2 years. I'm not sure. You kind of lose the notion of time in Rio, honestly. There's no seasons. But yeah, that's it.
Do you have questions so far for one of the 3 alumni? Feel free to jump in. It's free of charge. Adele, no?
please, because otherwise we will keep boring you with very personal experience, so please.
First of all, thank you for being here. Does this work?
Yes.
Okay, great. I was wondering for Forbidden Stories, do you first of all, what do you think of the team there, and what skills would you recommend that we develop or acquire if we want to pursue a career in investigative journalism?
Thanks for the question. I think I can reply about Forbidden, but more broadly about investigative journalism. It sounds really cool, I know. It's also very intense, it's really tough. So I think you gotta be very sure that that's what you wanna do. Also, you need to take into account that investigative journalism means a lot of desk, not always a lot of on-the-ground reporting. So it's normal that you arrive there a bit later in your career. I would say that it's a bit rare. For instance, like Forbidden, we're a very young team. We have, now it's evolving a bit, but the team is wonderful. It's really nice to work there, but we're all very young. And I was quite surprised because the idea that you have in your head of someone who does investigative journalism of this kind is I don't know, like a former war correspondent that wants to settle down a bit now and stay in a city or something like that. So the advice that I can give you is first, read a lot of investigations, like long features, and be like, all right, am I really willing to I don't know, spend 7 months working in an investigation like this? Am I cut out for doing very sit down work, even if it sometimes involves on the ground? But yeah. Then languages, very, very important. I think what sometimes can look as a liability for you can end up getting you a job. So I don't know, if you speak any third language that you speak, fourth, whatever, I know there's very talented people in this room, because there always is in these masters. So yeah, really build on that, get an interest in what makes you special in journalism. So yeah, try to build on that third language that you have, or I don't know, that country that you lived in, that you feel like other people might not. Try to find the thing that makes you stand out a bit, and then pitch, arrive with ideas. Because a lot of people wants to do investigation right now. You guys know that after Trump took to the office and that, and after they cut the USAID programs, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of them are investigative journalists. And I think today you really need to arrive with an idea and be very, very, very motivated and be like, all right, I really want to investigate in this country. I have these 3-4 stories that I would like to pursue. I'm just missing the means. And I would like for you, Newsroom, to give me the means to do that. And in my experience, that works. That works better than just arriving with, I don't know, I would love to be an investigative journalist. What can I do, But yeah, sorry, it's a bit of a very broad advice, but I think that's what can work the best.
Maybe Amin or Olivia, the investigative.
Yeah, if I can just add a bit on that. I mean, I think I agree a lot with what was being said. As long as you have an idea of what you want to do, just work slowly towards it. Languages are a great help. I mean, obviously I wanted to work in Latin America, so I'm not a native Spanish speaker, neither a native Portuguese speaker, but just working it over time and just you're working towards it. And even if you don't get the job of your dreams right now, you slightly work towards it, and that's better slow and steady than to just crash down. But yeah.
Another question on the joint master side?
Mine is a bit vague, but if you have any tips as a non-French journalist living here, how do you go around that? How do you pitch maybe about things that are not strictly France related, as you said before about your village, for example? How do you make people care about that?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sorry. It's if we have any advice for non-French native speakers for starting pitching maybe in France, because they're in France right now, and that I don't know if somebody else wants to start on that one. If not, I can go, but
All you.
So it really depends if you wanna pitch for French speaking media or not, I would say. Because in my case, the story about my village, I pitched it to The Dial, that is an international newsroom. So, their focus is precisely getting stories from remote places that might not be that evident to the rest of the people. So I would say, yeah, I mean, I don't know, if you arrive tomorrow with what I'm trying to say is don't despair if Le Monde doesn't take your pitch tomorrow, because it's normal and it's all right. And don't get frustrated if your first steps into journalism are not really great stories, really great features, and precisely what you had in mind to write about, and very passionate topics and that. Like, I don't know, maybe you can start pitching for your home country media about things related to France. Maybe you can, I don't know, do the opposite and pitch here about things that you know about your home country. Look for small media, look for, again, if you feel like your French is not that strong, which is also the case for me, don't count on that for being the main thing that gets you the pitch or the job or whatever. But it can be done. It can be done without having a wonderful French, because it's I think it's the case for a bunch of us in our promotion that we're not at all native French speakers, or even like, I know a lot of people who started learning French when they started the master, and they all have a job right now. So yeah.
Olivia, maybe if she wants to add something.
I don't write in French, so I can't really speak to this, but maybe I will offer just a sort of a different point. That is, if you are a native English speaker, it can be a real asset to you when you're trying to find a job in an Anglophone media environment, and especially if you speak English very fluently and can write in English really cleanly, and then have another language on top of that, that's always a bonus. But I would say, like, when you're applying for jobs, if you're a native English speaker, that can go a long way in certain newsrooms, because, you know, people don't want to have to necessarily edit your work. Like if it's a fast-moving newsroom like the one I work in, like I think it's nice to have a sense of reliability on people who can just write really quickly and cleanly, basically. So if that is something that is a kind of in your realm, I would say when you're pitching yourself to potential employers, that's a really good thing to highlight as well.
Yeah, I'll ask about keeping networks in different countries and cities, because, like for instance, Brussels, it's it's a bit of a hub for European affairs, and it's kind of seems a bit far away if you don't have the network there. How did you start building the network there, coming from Paris, and maybe similar for Latin America? And also, in your case, how do you keep the connection with the Spanish media that after that many years abroad? How do you keep the network in order to pitch there as well?
If you guys want to start.
Sure, I can start. I think in Brussels, another thing that really helped me sort of stand out and get the job that I have right now is that I did do part of my studies while at Sciences Po in specifically in European politics. And so I think, you know, already knowing even like a little bit about how European institutions work really was super helpful for me, because these are the institutions that Politico in Brussels is trying to sort of decode every single day. So if you do have any sort of like specific knowledge about how certain political arenas operate, I think that's another thing that you can highlight when you're interviewing for jobs.
Amin, about the network, can you hear us?
Yeah, sure. If you mean about a network as in sources, I mean it's the same as in anywhere. But like, whenever you go to a country, I would suggest just talking to everyone in the place you're in, knowing what media they work for. Especially, you don't want to encroach onto other people's territory. It's gonna be a bad look. You don't want to kick off your adventure somewhere, just having tension with other correspondents. But basically, it's very informal. You're gonna be better friends with some correspondents, and just I have this philosophy where I don't really see it as networking. You just make some friends, and everybody looks out for another. So, for example, I'm going to be working this weekend for a guy who just my friend just saw a story and was like, oh, I know Amin is in Rio, works in video, so he can help out. So basically, if you let people know where you are and what you do, and you have friends all over, people are going to help you out, and you're going to help people out. So yeah, basically, you have this is a classroom full of talented people. I hope you, most of you are friends. Look out for each other and look out for opportunities, not only for yourself, but for other students. And just it's gonna help you out in the end. And just don't take it take it easy. Take it easy. It's gonna be fine. Just be nice, have some fun, go out for some coffees with other correspondents, with sources and whatnot, and you're gonna see that everything's gonna turn out fine in the end.
Yeah, personally, I really agree with that. Like, I also hate networking. I hate that exists as a concept. I don't know. I feel like everything that pushes us into mercantilizing journalism as a profession is a really bad thing, and it's what has gotten us to this situation where we're writing really short articles and very depending on the AI and, like, I don't know, worrying about things that we should not be worrying about. So I agree, you gotta make friends and you gotta treat people as human beings. And I think that really shows when you approach to somebody in a newsroom that you like, or when you send a message because you want a job, and because when you do the same because you have a genuine interest in what they do, and you have actual questions for the person behind the story, like the journalist behind the newsroom and that. So yeah, I don't know, maybe it's terrible advice, but I would tell you, just like, if you like networking and you love having a carnet d'adresse with 3,000 people and that, like, go, that works, it's proved. But if you don't feel like that's for you, it's also possible. Like, just find journalists that you're actually a fan of and that you admire the work they do and that, and just talk to them in a human way and be like, hey, be honest, like, I'm starting, I like what you do, how did you get there, can we get a coffee, yeah, stuff like that. And I agree with Amin that it works. Like, at some point people start remembering you because you're more genuine than just again, a ChatGPT written LinkedIn email or whatever. Yeah.
I'll also add one more thing. When you first move to a city, if you're becoming a journalist in a larger city, there's usually, like, already groups that are set up, actually, of people who are all journalists as well. I know there's one in Brussels that's, like, just for women journalists, and that can be really nice, just to introduce yourself and to touch base and say, like, hey, I'm the new kid in town. And so I would keep your eyes peeled when you move to a new place if you do leave Paris, or even within Paris, if there's already things like this. Once you become kind of professional after your studies, definitely keep your eyes peeled for opportunities to attend those types of groups at the beginning.
Anyone who dream to be a correspondent somewhere here? Do you have a question? Maybe
I have several questions.
Can you just pass the mic on to her?
I think going back to Neil's question, you've talked a lot about what to do when you're in the city, but I think Neil's question was also about what to do when you leave that city. For example, in your case, keeping contact with Spain. Do you even think about pitching for Spain, and how to do that as well?
Being really honest with you, I feel like it's different when you're only a freelancer and you gotta pitch for a lot of people. In that case, I would really consider pitching way more for Spain. Right now, I think I tend to pitch to places that pay better, being really honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Of course, I would encourage you to keep a connection with the place you're coming from and to give them back what they've given you, definitely. But yeah, I think it's a very, very personal question depending on your intentions and on where you plan to head your career. For instance, like, I did an internship in like the internship of the first years of this master. I did it in Madrid. Had a wonderful team. We're still in touch. Same thing that I replied, because we're friends. So we are still in touch on that. But me personally, I don't pitch a lot to Spanish newsrooms. So yeah, I'm not sure I'm the best person to reply to that, but yeah. If anybody else has advice for keeping in touch with your home country networks.
I'm not entirely the best person to speak to either, because I'm from Canada, and basically there are just not that many publications from there, and even less in terms of interests for global interests. But you never know. I actually freelanced. I pitched for a few stories while doing my master's in Paris for a newspaper back in Montreal. So I had done an internship there before starting my master's, so I already had contacts. But yeah, no, I'm not the best person to talk. But you never know, honestly. Whenever something happens and you have contacts, it's like, hey, do you want this, or do you not want it? Then sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they even contact you if they need something specific. I remember when I was in Paris. So I had covered for them the cathedral, the Notre Dame fire, and then he knew that I was still in Paris, and they hired me for 3 days to cover a trial of a French kid who was killed back in Canada. So yeah, just it's the same thing as in networking and making friends. It's just letting people know where you are and what you do, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Honestly, some people are more lucky with their country of origin, as in regards to global interests, and some people aren't. Canada's just not that country. Maybe the U.S. is slightly better in that aspect.
Yeah. Well, I would say I don't have as much experience freelancing, and the nature of my job now is actually sort of a different type of newsroom role than someone who's reporting on the ground every day. So I'm sort of more on the strategy side of a newsroom, and still very involved in the editorial process and everything. But yeah, I would say, like, being an American, being in the political newsroom right now in Brussels, it's been just a really interesting experience, also because I'm from the US and everything is going a bit haywire right now, and the whole like transatlantic relationship is really interesting. And so yeah, I would say, like, even if you're in a newsroom that is maybe like covering one place, if you do have this sort of background where you can even pitch in a little bit and add some insight to the sort of conversation inside the newsroom, it's definitely worth bringing up.
Thank you.
Just to add a small little thing. You also, I mean, I'm speaking as a correspondent. Whenever you are from a specific country, you should also look at for stories that affect your country as well. Just not acting not necessarily as a I mean, it is correspondence, but I don't know. Imagine you're a Lithuanian and you see that there's this small Lithuanian community or the story with Lithuanian companies acting in that country. You should definitely look out for stories like that. That's my only tip.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Another question? I may have one. I think you have a very different work routine. Could you describe what is like a typical day or week depending on your jobs and countries?
Okay, I can start. To me, it changes a lot depending on whether it's publication period or not. So, for instance, right now, like we just published the Gaza project, the second part of it. So right now I'm pretty chill. So I just arrived to the office. I'm looking for new cases. I just I don't know. I do like 9:30 to 5:30, like very regular routine. And I just arrive and I start monitoring and looking for new cases, doing some pre-enquête interviews and that. Publication period is very different. And again, as I said, it's a lot of hours. Sometimes especially when you work from Paris, but with journalists that are in Palestine or in Latin America or whatever, you need to adapt to them, obviously, because you're not going to ask a person who is in Palestine right now to be like, hey, can you do these interviews whenever it's good for me? Obviously not. So yeah, in publication period, we do a lot of meetings with the rest of the team. You spend as much time as possible in the newsroom. For instance, I don't like to work remote. We normally have the right to a few days remote a week. But if we are in publication period, I don't like to do them because I feel like, I don't know, it's investigative. Journalism is very collaborative. And I think it's always better to have someone else's opinion on that. But yeah, right now it's a very normal job. It's just a bit tougher on a publication period, but luckily that only lasts a few weeks. I don't know about the rest.
I can jump in.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank
Go ahead,
you.
Ruby.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, I guess I'm more on a daily news routine. So every morning we come in and my team, I'm on this team called the audience team. And so we are assessing like the top stories of the day and really thinking about creative ways we can promote them across social media. We're thinking about like where our stories are being seen by who do we want to target our stories with, those types of questions. But then a lot of my job is also writing posts for social media. So looking at our articles, finding quick and interesting ways to draw people in to click on our stories and read them. Part of my job is also making graphics from time to time. And then another big part of my job, which is sort of like away a bit from the fray of just the day-to-day, is working on analytics and strategy and prepping for like longer term projects basically. So that could mean like if there's an election coming up or something that we want to really focus our coverage on, I'm sort of thinking, okay, how are we going to frame this on social media? What things can we prepare in advance? So it's a lot of collaboration with other sort of people in the newsroom to find out what our plans are and how then my team can sort of catapult those onto social platforms. And other than that too, I'm looking at how certain posts and certain storylines performed on different platforms and then creating drawing takeaways from those that we can share with the broader newsroom and saying like, okay, we tried this, how did it work, that type of thing.
Yeah, we all have different ways of doing journalism, which is great. Basically, I guess a typical day for me would be in the morning, just reading the local media, just to see if I can find a international angle. That's why I highly suggest that you at least are able to read the language that is being spoken in the country you're gonna work in, if ever you want to be a correspondent. Yeah, it really depends. Sometimes you look out for news, and sometimes news just catch up, and you're being called from different organizations to just work for them. For example, just this week, when Pope Francis died, obviously, you don't. For me, I'm in a position where I don't have to pitch. AFP calls me and like, hey, can you do reactions of people or go in churches and all that. So you've got different types of news. Some of them you look out for, and sometimes you're just being called, or even some more basic stuff. I think 2 weeks ago, AFP wanted some images of Lula, of the president. So I just went to an industry plant 3 hours away with the photographer, and honestly, I wouldn't have pitched the story because there is no story. But agencies being a different kind of news organization, sometimes they just want images, and so yeah, I mean it depends. Sometimes you pitch a lot. You're gonna get a lot of no's, and you shouldn't despair. That's the main message. Don't despair. But yeah, I mean, sometimes people look out for specific stories. Sometimes you look out for specific stories. Honestly, things are. My friend friends who are also corresponding for radio or for a written press. I'm like, oh, what are you working on? And you can always kind of find a spin as well. Don't copy your colleague's work. But just chat, and sometimes they're gonna ask you, hey, what are you working on, and yada yada yada. And but yeah, basically that's it. You have to, as a freelancer, you've got to be quite flexible in terms of work. Sometimes you're just not gonna have a lot of work, and sometimes you're gonna be having 14-hour long days. So you just gotta get used to it. And sometimes you run after news, and sometimes news run after you.
Maybe one quick question about the international affairs part of the master. Do you feel like you've reaped any benefits of that in your day-to-day, in your work, and potentially to what extent can you use that, or have you used it to your advantage in applying for a job?
You mean like if having done this master specifically helped us in the professional, or?
Yeah, well, the international affairs part of the master helped you in any way?
I mean, I'm only talking for myself here. To me, yes, obviously, because I mean, I don't know, I did a concentration on Latin America. I focused a lot on the Middle East and that, and now I did the Gaza project, and I'm working on Latin American projects. So of course, yeah, I would say also don't feel bad if you don't have all the time that you would like to dedicate to the international affairs part, because it's normal, and I think we all it's a common experience. And it's all right, just, take what you can, take the contacts of the professors too, and take the contacts of your classmates, because that's going to help you in the future. There's really brilliant people at APSIA, so do take advantage of that. But yeah, I mean, this is the main focus of the master, like journalism, so it's normal that you don't have all the time that you would like to do that. But well, I would tell you just take the best that you can from those classes, take the contacts, and yeah. To me personally, I do feel like it helped. But yeah.
I think there isn't there's not a direct relationship between the masters and your jobs. Honestly, it's a good degree. Definitely helped me get my first job, and then when you further your career, your degree also is less and less relevant. It's more your work experience. But it definitely makes you smarter. I don't know. I feel like I've learned a lot of stuff in the PSIA part, and I've done international security, and that definitely helped me out to do specific topics as well, to have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. I've done a few explainers at your news talking about geopolitics in Belarus or in Cyprus, and so it just makes you, I think it does makes you a smarter journalist. But in terms of practicality, there's no, I think it's a very indirect link to you being a better journalist or having better access to the job market.
I'll say that I think for reference, I did the human rights track and humanitarian action, and I would say that it did help me get this specific internship I had where I was reporting in Geneva, and that was really cool because then all of these big UN institutions that I had been learning about in my classes, then I was there up close and personal to them, and had that background, which I think is really helpful. And that, of course, too, I think brought me to my current job. So I can't say that there wasn't some sort of impact for me personally. But yeah, I would agree with the other two folks online, and Sofia, hi, by the way, in person. We were in the same promo. Yeah. And so I just want to say hi. But yeah, I think if anything, like your SIA track that you're on is just going to make you more interesting as a human being, probably, because you're just learning so much more. And I think it does add something when you go into the job market. where you can say that at least you have this like knowledge in a separate area as well, in addition to your journalism training, which I think is valuable. And even if you studied something different as well in your bachelor's, like that's the same thing, you know. I think the more well-rounded you can be, the more interesting you can be to potential employers.
I was thinking maybe like two very like specific examples, but I don't know if some of you are doing the human rights concentration, as Liv said. Hi, Liv, by the way. Do you still have William Shabas as a professor?
Yes.
Middle East I think recently, like yesterday, released a really brilliant interview with him. You could have gotten that interview with him because he's your professor, and he replies. I know for a fact that he replies to emails after you graduate. And for instance, another example, also going back to what you were asking me before about pitching about my home country, something that I thought of doing, but that I didn't end up doing because publication rhythm at Forbidden Stories. But I thought of pitching a story about the floods in Valencia in Spain. And I thought of interviewing Giacomo, the teacher that teaches here Nature of Disaster. That is a class that really, I don't know, I found it really interesting. I thought of interviewing him, and again, I know that he replies to emails to graduates, but I couldn't do it after all. But yeah, so that's, I think for that, it can help you to find sources as a journalist, yeah.
Yeah. Going back to pitching and potentially cold pitching, I don't know if this is something that you've done. And like, what would you say that are other ways that you see or that you have experienced of finding the editor-in-chief of a place, a newsroom that you have not been through an internship? If that's something that is, as complex as it is for us, it is for you, or you see some path. And then about changing formats and potentially moving from investigative journalism to, I don't know, video or something like that, more in the middle of your career. Is this something that you would be, that you would aim to do in the future, and how do you approach this mobility within the field of journalism?
Very quickly about the first one, for instance, like the story that I told you that I pitched about my village to the dial. That was definitely a cold pitch. Yeah, there's a lot of magazines that I would say it's more fit for this kind of cold stories than like breaking news newsrooms. They were looking for topics, for stories about money. The title of the issue was money. And I just started thinking, I was like, well, all right, in my tiny village, my place, ATMs are disappearing and they are moving everything to online banking. And for a place that has a, I don't know, average age of 80 plus years old, it's really becoming a problem because people don't know how to interact with the internet, and the world is moving too fast for them. So it was something that I actually cared about because it's my neighbors and I know them, and it was a story that I really felt like it was worth being told. And that literally, that's what I told. Like, I did not do a formal pitch of this could be of interest for this audience, this is the hook, this is blah, blah, blah. Like, I just emailed Madeline and I told her, like, hey, this is happening in my village. I feel like it's a really important story. At least it is for us. It goes perfectly because it's about money. And yeah, so I would say, like, try to give it a twist of not pitching what everybody else is going to pitch, or I don't know. Yeah, I think that would be it for me. And the second one was moving about other formats. Yeah, definitely. I can't tell you a lot right now because it's what I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, I do not want to spend the rest of my life working at investigative journalism. I don't think anybody can do that. Frankly, it's very exhausting. So yeah, I would love to. I don't know. Would love to do something else. I'm a written press person, so for me, I don't think it's gonna be video ever. But yeah, why not? So never say never. I do illustrations, you remember, but yeah, that's something also that I would like to say. Sorry, before I let you guys. For instance, I was when I was doing this master, I love to draw. I love to do digital illustration and that, and I tried to merge it with my work as a journalist, and to me, it really didn't work. Like, it was taking a toll on my mental health, and because I felt like I was losing my hobbies to work. So if you feel like you have a skill that can make you stand out, but you don't want to sacrifice that to the job market, that's perfectly valid, and don't feel bad. So yeah, I just thought it was worth saying.
Yeah, just to add on that. I think Sofia said everything that needed to be said on the first part. On the second part, I've started out in radio then went to written press, and then just fell in love with TV, with images and all that. I think, especially if you want to be a correspondent, I mean, I'm in a good position just in video, but it definitely helps if you can work in multimedia. I know that sometimes written press, written journalists kind of look from a bad eye video, but it's a good skill to have. Just basic filming goes a long way, especially if you're in a remote place where there's not a lot of other options. It's just gonna give you a lot more work opportunities, and also thing is TV pays better. It's just a fact. So if ever you have a slower month, definitely if you can pitch some video stories, it does help a lot. So just try to be a Swiss knife in terms of a journalist, and I think this master will prepare you for that. Has prepared you for that.
Yeah, I'll just add my 2 cents and sort of echo what everyone else was saying. I think don't assume that your skills that you're learning in different kind of aspects of this job and different areas of the training are not really transferable or connected, you know, like being a good editor makes you a better reporter, or like, you know, having some of these same types of skills also makes you good at writing a social media post, for example. You know, having a good eye when it comes to video could also make you just have a strong visual eye in other aspects. Like imagine if you were in the type of job where you were more on the production side of a newsroom, and you know, we're working at a magazine or something like this. So don't hold yourself back by sort of limiting what you assume journalism to be. The more skills that you can sort of grow, and you don't have to master them, but like the more skills you can show you have, I think the better.
Thank you for sharing all of this. I had a question, I think maybe more for Amin. Since you started video when you were abroad, is it France 24 that provides you with like the stuff, the cameras, or everything else, or did you have to invest for yourself? And is it something that matters when you're working abroad, like the stuff, the cameras, and how did you do to maybe create your own, like invest in your own stuff and all?
So the sound was a bit bad, but yeah, it's about having your equipment or
Yes.
the job's equipment. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, basically, I have my own camera. So when I was working full time with them, obviously I used France 24's equipment. But when I decided to launch, when I became freelance, I did go and buy my own equipment. I could use AFP's spare camera, but I just rather use mine. It's once you start working in video, a lot of the time you want to have your own camera, just because first of all, you never know when somebody else is going to call you, and if the day rate doesn't cover the renting your equipment, is just not financially worth it. So for example, if I'm going to probably be working this weekend for another company, and so if I didn't have, I'm actually producing for them, and then they're like, oh, are you able to shoot? Yes. Do you have your own equipment? Yes. So that also just gives me a lot more working opportunities, not just as a producer, but also as a camera operator. And honestly, it's just nice to have your own camera, just because you get used to it, you get quicker with it, you know how to use it, you don't have to adapt to it all the time. Obviously, it is an investment. I spent, I think, around 5,000 euros just at the whole set. But yeah, you just have to look at it as an investment. And yeah, basically, I think if you're a freelancer, you should just be ready to go whenever you're being called to work. Because, for example, imagine if there's breaking news and I have to go and rent an equipment, and that just doesn't make sense. I'm not going to be able to leave my house already ready to shoot. I would suggest, however, I mean, the big tip is to have money saved up before you fully go freelancing in another country. If you can live 3 months without working, that's a great way to start out. So if you have your equipment and then enough to live in that country for 3 months, then I think you're good to go. But yeah, definitely get your own equipment. It also depends. You don't have to go all out. I got a good equipment because also that's what I dedicate myself to. But if you feel like there's going to be another way to make a bit of side money to work in TV, and you're not going to do whole features and all that, then you don't have to get a $5,000 camera. You can also get a $1,000 camera, and that's going to be more than enough to do a lot of TV packages. But yeah, definitely get your own if you're thinking of working in TV as a freelancer.
Thank you.
I hope this answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your answer.
One last question, maybe? I have two last questions. One about how do you make a living as a journalist and if you're stable? And the second and most important is how happy you are today as a journalist. And no, but that's a key question as well.
We're still recording, no?
Yes, this is why it's a double question. One is not related to the other, but they're a key question for students. So that's why I'm asking.
So I can start. Overall, yes, I'm stable and happy. Of course, with nuances. I think nobody in this room is here for the money. If you are, you're still on time to change profession. It's really not the job to become extremely rich unless you want to sacrifice your values. That said, it's really rewarding. You can make a living. I'm on a permanent contract. I'm living in Paris. I'm not a French native speaker. It's possible. It can be done. It's normal that at the beginning, especially if you can't have support from your parents and that, which was the case for me, for instance, it's normal that you're going to have to take jobs that are not your dream job at the beginning. It's perfectly fine, even if it's not journalism. Like, I don't know, if you have to work on communication or something like that because of the PSIA part that gets you the job, and then freelance on the side a bit until you have some money save up and then start doing the dream job that you had in mind, or I don't know, is normal. Don't let your work define you, especially at the beginning of your career. And I think I would really have liked to hear that when I was attending these kind of masterclasses. But yeah, it can be done. It's possible. You can live on your own. Also, well, I mean, you know already, but as a woman, it's way harder to get there. It's really hard to just believe that you have the right to negotiate your salary and things like that. You do. You absolutely do, and you have to. And if you're shy and very empathetic with others, you need to swallow that and just be like, all right, today I'm here for myself, and I have to rent an apartment, so I need to have a CD, and unfortunately I have to be this person today. So yeah, it can be done. It's really hard, but it can be done.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you're a woman, do not be afraid to negotiate your salary. You can feel like, oh, I feel so lucky that I got a job, and you should feel grateful to a certain point, but also you should be proud of the skills that you've acquired and that you've worked hard for. So seriously, that is a really big point. I would say that I didn't really think it would be possible to work in a really big kind of traditional newsroom, but I'm really happy that I've been able to have this experience for the past almost 2 years now. So that's been something that I didn't even ever dream, because, you know, it's true that journalism is in a little bit of a state of crisis still, and a lot of big newsrooms have made cuts. And I know it's scary when you're a student and you want to really make a career in this industry, but I'm sort of here to say that you still can work in a really big, bustling, energetic newsroom if that's the type of career you want. It exists in Europe. That being said, if you want to apply to Politico, reach out. I'm a resource, so add me on LinkedIn. We can chat if you have any questions. To the point about being happy, I think, yeah, part of it is just like, you know, the colleagues that you're around and the energy you feel in the newsroom and just being excited about learning new things every day. I think that's why a lot of people get into this industry. It's why I did. And I'm really lucky to be in a career that is not something I find boring. I think that's really the biggest thing for me is I'm not bored. I'm definitely not bored. And I have a lot of different tasks. My days look really different based on the news cycle, and this is something I love. So yeah, and I will say, I know Brussels isn't Paris, but guys, it's not that bad. Okay.
Thank you. Amin, about happiness to conclude?
So yes, stability in terms of financial stability, pretty much stable. It always depends on the month. Sometimes you have very good months, and that's when you should spend too much, even though you have a very good month and you want to reap the benefits, keep it for rainy days. I'm very happy. Just because, I mean, as Olivia said, you have to be curious in this job, and I think if you're curious, then you're just going to be happy because you're basically being paid to speak to people, to learn stuff, and then just kind of summarize it to an audience. So that's a really cool job. Also, if you find a nice city to live in, the job is not everything, right? And the colleagues, I mean, the job can be very nice, the colleagues can be very nice, but also you're not working 24/7. And so if you can find a nice place to live in and make a living in that city, it's just very fun to be in Rio, for example. I know Marie worked for some years in Rio de Janeiro, so she knows what I'm talking about. And so yeah, basically, it's a really fun. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that journalism is not a passion of mine. It's just a combination of everything I want to do, which is basically travel, speak to people, and learn stuff, and then shoot. And so journalism just allows me to do that. And so I just feel very lucky to be able to do all that and to be in a nice city like Rio to be stable financially. So yes, definitely happy.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. In name of the whole group, you had around 60, 70 people listening to you very carefully. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
I'll switch to the mic.